Second seed locked up is the NFL MVP locked up for Josh Allen. Plenty to get to. The Bills coming off a 40-14 win over the Jets. I'm Kevin Carroll. Welcome to the Buffalo End Zone Podcast, everyone.
And I'm Andy Young at Highmark Stadium in the M&T Bank Suite, where the Bills have taken care of business. 8-0 at home as they wrap up the regular season in style in front of the home fans here at Highmark.
Yeah, a lot to get to with this one, Andy. It all starts and ends with Josh Allen, though, when it comes down to it. Another big case for himself to be the league MVP. You needed him to do maybe something one more time. And, you know, a rushing touchdown, 2 passing touchdowns just adds to the list. And, Andy, I was talking with Stevie Johnson about this after the game. When you look at what Josh Allen did, even the passes that were missed, that were dropped, were right on the money. This guy, just unbelievable right now, and he means so much to this Bills team. I don't think there's any argument moving forward, either Saquon Barkley or Lamar Jackson. No offense to the two of them for having a really good year. I just think this was the stamp that Josh Allen put on this season for himself.
And it's not always what he does in terms of the numbers, which are massive, by the way, and unprecedented in NFL history during a career, but it's how he does it. Look at the way he made those touchdown passes in this game. That absolute dime to Amari Cooper, who did a great job falling backwards and landed hard on his tailbone. Great catch, great throw by Allen, jaw-dropping type of stuff. And then that classic type of Josh Allen ad-lib kind of play where he rolls out, evades pressure, goes to his right, throws back across his body left, across almost the entire field, and throws it up perfectly for the former college basketball player, Keon Colelman, to high point the basketball, the old alley-oop play, and get it. And you just look at other media members, you see the fans, and you're just like, oh my God, what did he just do? And you almost become desensitized to it because it happens almost every game. Like last week against the Patriots, it wasn't necessarily those kinds of plays, and you're like, oh, what happened? Josh Allen wasn't that great, blah, 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 because you expect him to make these incredible plays. So not only does he put this team on his back week in and week out, put up 40-plus touchdowns total for the 5th consecutive year, only guy in NFL history to do that. He runs the football. He makes smart decisions. The turnovers are down this season. And then it's just the wow plays, the special factor that he maybe be the only person in the league ever that can make some of the plays. You can talk about Mahomes. Lamar makes some great plays, some of the greats from back in the day as well. But some of these special plays are something that we don't see very often or ever at all. To me, that's why Josh Allen is the MVP this season for a multitude of reasons, but that's a big one of them.
Yeah, I don't have my notes in front of me right here. I believe the number 65 rushing touchdowns, tying Thurman Thomas for the most rushing touchdowns all time for the Bills, who, oh, by the way, had O.J. Simpson at one point as well. Thurman Thomas, now you have Josh Allen, the Bills quarterback, with another rushing touchdown. We joked.
Kevin, real quick, what position did Thurman Thomas and O.J. Simpson play?
Oh, I got the answer. Running back.
Yeah, what does Josh Allen play?
Oh, I got that too. Running quarterback.
Yeah, we have rarely, if ever, seen a dual threat like this. It's incredible.
Yeah, unbelievable that he's in. So you mentioned that, and then you mentioned the passing touchdowns and the accuracy. Andy, I've watched football for a long time, and maybe I'm just paying closer attention this season because of, and I'll say it, this season has a feel to it. Like it's going to end up being something. The talk at the beginning of the year that, oh, this is a rebuilding season, or then the team's like, everybody eats, we're going to spread the ball around. And then the first few games, you're like, that's not working. Receivers aren't getting separation, yada, yada, yada. But as the season rolls on and you're getting 40 points from the offense and over 30 points for all those games in a row up until that Patriots game, Andy, just says so much to what, like I look back, you know, they were mentioning Aaron Rodgers, a former MVP during the broadcast. You look at stuff Tom Brady did and Peyton Manning. But just, I don't know. Josh Allen just blows my mind sometimes watching where he's putting footballs.
Yeah, I mean, he is doing things that we haven't ever seen before. We have seen great surgical quarterbacks. You mentioned Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Dan Marino, different guys, Dan Fouts throughout the eras,
Jim Kelly.
Right, exactly. All these different guys. And then we've seen great running quarterbacks, and we've seen the Michael Vicks and the Randall Cunninghams and Dante Culpeppers and Big Ben and Cam Newton. And there's really like we're watching a special era of quarterback play right now because Josh Allen is playing like nobody we've ever seen before. Mahomes is a great quarterback, and until the last couple of seasons had been doing things at a historic level, still amazing. One of the best winners ever. Lamar Jackson, who we're going to talk about a ton over the next couple of weeks, and the MVP award. Also ridiculous, amazing player. We are watching something special. But to me, the things Josh Allen is doing with his arms, his legs, and what the pressure that he brings and has to carry with this team. You mentioned the expectations going into the season were that, oh, yeah, they'll probably still be pretty good because they've got Josh Allen and McDermott's a good head coach, if not great. And they've got some guys still, but maybe they take a step back in the division. The weapons maybe aren't there. Diggs is gone. Davis is gone. Defensive guys are gone, and they're better than they were last year, right? They're way better. They're incredible. And they've had a couple stumbling blocks along the way, but who hasn't? Lamar Jackson, last I checked, has more losses than Josh Allen does last season. That was a big part of this award last year, if you remember those discussions. Oh, it's not the stats. It's the guy who's done the most to lead his team to the best success. Well, that's not Mahomes this season because it's just you've watched it and the numbers just aren't there. So then you go to the Bills, who are the 2 seed, beat the Lions and beat the undefeated Chiefs, the only team to do that. And who steamrolls and spearheads that? It's Josh Allen. Who's got the memorable plays this season, right? The ridiculous stuff that he's done, the long runs, the play against the Chiefs, plays in this game, just the Rams game that they lost, the plays in the Lions game. I mean, it just stacks and stacks and stacks and stacks. And yeah, Lamar might have a few more yards and a few more touchdowns, but given the overall picture of what this team is, who means more to their team and has played better in that respect than Josh Allen?
Right. And you spoke to Von Miller after the game. He's won Super Bowls. He played alongside Peyton Manning. He played alongside, I always want to say Matt Stafford. And
you have an awesome way of bringing in ex-Sabres into these conversations.
I don't know. They just pop into my head, Andy. But again, you were there. You heard from Von Miller. The way he spoke about Josh Allen, it almost sounded like he was putting Josh Allen ahead of Peyton Manning.
Yeah, I mean, he said, I hate to compare different guys, but I've never seen a player play this way. And Peyton Manning was the most cerebral, accurate, smart quarterback maybe I've ever seen. Drew Brees is up there, Brady at times, same thing. But the way Josh Allen plays with reckless abandon with his body sometimes, but only when he needs to this season. And the way he guts out plays with his legs, the quarterback sneaks, the long runs, the deep balls, the accuracy this season, the cutting down on turnovers. I mean, it's all there for this guy, and it's incredible. And Lamar's deserving too. But to me, this is a year that Josh Allen gets it. I think Josh deserved it. I think Dak Prescott deserved it last year more than Lamar did. And I think given the Bills' record and what Josh has done this season, I think it belongs to Josh Allen. I wouldn't be surprised if somehow it ends up with Lamar Jackson. But to me, I think that Josh said, all right, you put up 3 last week on Christmas, Lamar, earlier this week. All right, I'm going to go back right at you with 3 and do it in eye-popping, unbelievable fashion just to remind the voters, oh, yeah, this guy, he's lights out too.
And that was all the talk after the Ravens win. And, oh, by the way, I still think Lamar gets hurt by the fact that they went out and brought Henry in, who really is what most teams focus on when you're going up against the Ravens. It's not really Lamar Jackson.
Right. I mean, I've seen some numbers put up by great folks on X and on the internet who do some of the deep analytics and talk about guys who've done more with less. The amount of separation that the receivers for the Ravens have and Lamar hits them, credit credit where credit's due. He does his job. He hits them, but they are wide open because people are so worried about what he can do with his legs and what Derrick Henry is doing. And that just isn't the case with Josh. He's one of the least quarterbacks with the fewest yards of separation per target of anyone in the NFL. Yet he's still up there in the rankings of accuracy and success rate in terms of hitting those guys, even though they're not open to the degree that other players are. And I mean, it's really incredible. This is a year where you could see, I mean, Saquon Barkley should be Offensive Player of the Year or an MVP candidate. Derrick Henry, same deal. Lamar Jackson. I mean, all these different guys. But to me, the cream of the crop, the guy with big numbers, not quite as much as Lamar, but what he's done with his team, for his team, and the way he's done it, and the team's overall record, it's got to be Josh.
Nut farmer too, in case you forgot, Andy.
Evie.
But
inside joke.
Bottom line is this: the Bills without Josh Allen are probably a 500 team at best.
At best.
The Ravens without Lamar Jackson this year, I don't know. They're probably nearer close to the same. I would think,
They've been, I wouldn't say they're exactly the same, but they're probably in that area. I mean, think about some of the years that Lamar had COVID or was hurt. Tyler Huntley came in, and they were still good. Like, the Ravens are a really good team, and Lamar is a really, really good quarterback. He's going to go down as one of the all-time greats. He's a 2-time MVP. He's also revolutionized the game in the way he plays it. He's the greatest, straight rushing quarterback, and he's also awesome with his arm. I would never gloss that over because he's incredible in that regard. But I just keep hearkening back to the moments. I've watched a ton of Ravens games, and he's done great things, but Josh has just done some ridiculous, oh my God type stuff.
Yeah, and we'll add to that because you brought up the separation fact with the wide receivers and whatnot. I think as this has gone on, Josh has become more comfortable with, okay, I don't have guys getting a ton of separation, but if I put the ball right where they can only get it, they will get it. And we saw that again with Amari Cooper today, with Keon Colelman. Colelman, again, for the rookie, they did a fade early in the game. Josh threw it too low. Keon comes back pointing, just get it up higher and I'll go get it. And I think that played a role later in the game where Colelman came up with that jump ball in the end zone. Game was really out of hand by then, but that was such an exciting play to see Josh Allen pull off that you got to just sit there and watch it over and over again, Andy. But the wide receivers are delivering.
Yeah, you're right, man, because the early part of Josh's career, that's kind of why they brought in the separators. That's why they brought in Steph Diggs. That's why they brought in John Brown and Cole Beasley, because the first year under Josh in his rookie season, they had all those big kind of lumbering tall receivers. And it was like, all right, this guy's not accurate, so let him just throw it up and get it. And that didn't seem to work because maybe Josh didn't trust what he was seeing enough. He needed to see the guys open. Well, now he doesn't need to see that. He trusts where the guy is going to be, and he trusts his arm that he's going to fit it into a tight window, whether they're wide open or just a sliver open. And sometimes they're catching it, sometimes they're not, but Josh makes up for that. I mean, Keon had a drop in this game. I mean, he almost could have had that deep one earlier in the game where you brought that up where he slid and didn't quite get it. He had his hands on that one. Josh hit him in stride down the sidelines early in the game. That was wiped out by a penalty. I mean, you just look at the way Josh is in command and feels comfortable and doesn't care which guy he goes to. I think they've had 13 different guys catch touchdown passes this season. That's remarkable.
I was just going to get to that. 13 different players have caught touchdown passes because Tyrell Shavers comes in backup time and Mitch Trubisky hits him and he rips off a 69-yard touchdown to lead Andy all Bills receivers for the day. One catch, 69 yards, and a touchdown.
That was my guy in training camp. You remember that. I talked him up, and we did a little feature on Tyrell Shavers and his kind of grind from the practice squad to getting a shot. And ultimately, he's been on the practice squad, got a couple of call-ups, but good for him, dude. Get a first catch, get a first touchdown. I mean, you got to have these different contributions. Curtis Samuel's hurt. So, I mean, that's also a story of this team is so many different guys contributing and stepping up through injuries, through whatever it might be, through up and down days, through days where guys aren't getting open or not targeted or they're hurt or they're struggling on defense, whatever it is, somebody seems to step up most of the time. And it's led to, 13 wins out of 16 tries so far.
Yeah, and again, everybody does eat right now, Andy. Everybody's eating. When you look at the box score from this, Amari Cooper, we saw more of him. 3 catches in this game for 56 yards and a touchdown. Mac Hollins, once again, in your face, Kevin Carroll for asking why he's on the roster earlier in the season. He's great. Khalil Shakir keeps on delivering. Dalton Kincaid seems to be more part of what they're trying to do as we come down the stretch. All bodes great for the Bills going into the postseason.
And Kevin, what is better than every time the Bills have a big play down the field? What do you see as someone's going in to score? Mac Hollins is celebrating halfway through the play. It is incredible. That guy is just having a blast on the football field.
Right.
He is not an all-pro player, but he's been a really solid addition for this Bills team. Special teams, leadership, just fun in the room, the no shoes stuff. And he makes plays too. And just to watch him be overjoyed, to watch Shavers sprinting down the field or whoever it might be that's going on a big touchdown, Ty Johnson or James Cook. It's infectious and it's really cool.
It's enjoyable because all these guys are reliable, Andy. I can even go back to the last couple of seasons where, Gabe Davis would be huge in the postseason, but questionable during the regular season on if he could be dependable because he'd have his bad moments out there. I look up and down this roster, Andy. I don't see one player I'd be afraid to rely on in the postseason in a crucial moment. Not one that you'd be like, he's not reliable. He's not I just think from what they put with everybody getting involved and people filling in for injured people, that they'll come through when you need them to.
Think about all the contributors we've seen this season. Running backs, Ty Johnson has had great plays this season. Ray Davis has shown flashes. Obviously, James Cook has been amazing. And by the by, has tied Thurman Thomas, right, for our second place. He can get the record from Thurman Thomas for most rushing touchdowns in a season. Then you look at the receivers up and down. Even Curtis Samuel has started to make contributions after a tough start for him. Mac Hollins, Shavers, whoever it might be. Jalen Virgil they've called up. Obviously, Mac Hollins, Keon, Amari Cooper, Shakir, the tight ends. Even you're not afraid of Quentin Morris making a play out there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's really impressive the way that they've got those guys to buy into that and the way that they've melded them all together.
I want to get to the defense, Andy, but before we do, offensive line needs to take a lot of credit too for what they've been able to do as far as protecting Josh Allen. But we talked about this on the post-game show. Alec Anderson and his role in the Bills' run game or the jumbo package when they bring it in has been so effective. A, calm down, dude, and don't get into a fight and get ejected during the game. B, he went out because it looked like he was injured. I've never seen a role player like that when you hear Alec Anderson's going to be okay. He's going to go back into the game where you're like, oh, that's great news.
Yeah, for the backup, tackle and center, and right. That's an interesting role. The Bills have used a variety of different guys over the last couple of years. Last season, it was David Edwards, who was that 6th offensive lineman in the jumbo package. Year before that, I think it was Groy or somebody like that. There's been different guys throughout the years who've done those sorts of things, and it's a big role and it's a factor in what they do. I think at one point this season they were running that kind of a set more than anybody else in the NFL. He brings a nastiness to the game. That offensive line has been really good and really solidified the last 2 seasons. And yeah, Mitch Morse was let go and he was a good player for the Bills, but they really haven't missed a beat. Connor McGovern's been nice up there. I mean, you deal with some penalties from time to time, especially from Spencer Brown, but he brings a level of nasty and has really solidified that right tackle spot. We all know about Dion, who's, all pro schno potentially and trying to get an all pro honor. Had a little bit of a rough go at times today with McDonald, I think, at times, but overall, Dion's a great player. And then Torrance in his second season, Edwards. I mean, those guys deserve a lot of credit because Josh Allen doesn't take many sacks at all. They've opened lanes for him to pass the ball. And then, of course, what the running backs are doing as well. So, I mean, those guys always, no matter if you're on a good team or bad, are unsung heroes, but that team has some really good offensive linemen. Cromer and company have done a great job there.
And with that, we go to the defensive line, Andy. A lot of criticism throughout the season on how they performed, lack of getting to the quarterback, pass rush coming up short, not being able to come up with a stop on third down and whatnot. Today's game, they deserve a clap, Andy, a pat on the back for what they did to Aaron Rodgers in this Jets offense that have kind of come on a little bit over the past couple of weeks. Forced 3 turnovers, a fumble, and 2 interceptions in this game. And the defensive line playing a big role in that. You got Von Miller getting a sack, and they were getting after Aaron Rodgers all game.
Yeah, that's big for this Bills defense because they had been taking heat all season and had just not been good enough and not making enough splash plays consistently. There have been games and there's been flashes, but there's been far too many times where it seemed like they were getting rolled. And we've given them heat. I have myself, a lot of media members, a lot of fans have given that defensive line heat. And a lot of the guys would say, and they would stand up and talk to us, no doubt about it. And they'd say, look, it's not all about the numbers. We're doing good things out there. We're just sometimes not getting home. We're creating pressures. We're just one gap away, one player in the right spot, that sort of thing. Well, for those guys to actually generate pressure and to get home, albeit against Aaron Rodgers, who's clearly a shell of what he used to be, still big, though. I mean, to get home, to make him miserable all day long for the most part, and to really change the game, right? The defense got it cooking with those turnovers and those sacks, especially in the third quarter there, and it really just started to snowball for the Bills. And when the defensive line and the ends and the edge rushers and the tackles are getting home, getting sacks, tipping balls, Jordan Phillips getting an interception off a tip ball by Greg Rousseau, it just sets everything else up, especially when uncharacteristically for this Bills team, there's been some struggles on the back end as they deal with injuries at safety and at cornerback, a revolving door there. Milano, linebackers have been hurt, the whole deal. So you need more out of your defensive line, especially when you want to play as a defense, a lot of 2 safety zone coverage type stuff. You need to be able to get home with 4 and not have to send blitzers and things like that when your secondary might be struggling or is banged up. And so for those guys to do that in this game for the most part and cause havoc on Aaron Rodgers, really, really big confidence boost for those guys to get the numbers because they want the numbers too, and to see the success heading into the postseason.
And it was good to see Andy coming off a game against the Patriots team that had a bad offensive line, that it didn't really go the way I thought it would for the Bills' defensive line against that Patriots O-line. But now this week, the same scenario against the pretty bad Jets offensive line. It was good to see them kind of do it. And, I mean, they basically kept the game from being way too close in the first half of this, getting a 4th down stop, getting that early interception for Jordan Phillips. Because the first half of this game against the Jets, I didn't want to watch the rest of the game at halftime.
Well, the referees had a good part in that
Oh,
too.
my God. Andy, at one point, I said it out loud. Jim Nantz complained about it. You tweeted about it. Every Bills media guy in the press box tweeted. Tony Romo mentioned it. It's like, this is driving us bananas, the flag fest that went on in this game.
Yeah, that was ugly. Bills got to clean up some of that stuff. Some of that's just who they are, but they do need to clean up some of that stuff. It did cause them some troubles on drives in the first half that seemed promising that were slowed down. But as far as the defense goes, I mean, kudos to those guys. Benford has the interception. Milano makes a play. I criticized Milano today, and I'll come straight out and say it, and I
Yes,
don't
you
have a problem with
did.
it. I did. I went on Twitter, on X, and I said, look, Milano just doesn't look like he has the same gear, and who can blame him when he's coming off the injuries that he's had? And it's been a talking point for weeks that maybe he's not quite what he was, and who would blame him? Look at what we saw with Milano or with Von Miller last season,
Right.
not being back to the same guy. Look what we saw from Trey White dealing with injury after injury. It just isn't the same. And so it's not to blame Matt Milano for that. It just is what it is. A couple of times where years past, you'd see him fly in and make the play in the backfield or get to a guy more quickly in coverage. He just wasn't there. And you saw that early in this game. And then he did start to make some plays later in the game where we saw some flashes of the old Matt Milano, where he zipped in and shot the gap and made a negative play on a run play in the backfield, and then obviously makes the fumble recovery and seemed to be flying around a little bit more. And then I'd taken a bunch of heat from fans on X saying, you still think Milano's washed or whatever. I never said that. I said it could be a work in progress for him as he tries to come back. And who can blame him for that? I think he would admit, yeah, there's like one of the plays where he was trying to chase down Rodgers. Rodgers got away. And then another play where Garrett Wilson maybe, or maybe it was Breece Hall had got away from him, that normally you'd see him make that wrap up in the backfield or along the sidelines.
Devontae Adams.
That's what it was. You're right. And I don't have my notes here in front of me. I should, like an idiot. But
I don't either.
I mean, I think there's room for some criticism there that he hasn't been perfect and it's been tough. And there's been calls from a lot of people to maybe see Dorian Williams. But I think we did see some signs of Milano going forward. And I won't be afraid to say I think someone's playing well or not playing well, or maybe they're still banged up and coming back. And when they say when they're doing well, I'll say that too, which I did go on X right after those plays and say credit where credit's due. And I will continue to do that.
You mentioned banged up players. Some of the secondary banged up did come back for this game. Let's push things forward, Andy. I mean, we all know the game against the Patriots means nothing. It would be good to get these guys some rest, but also still maybe need some reps as well. I was thinking about that with the secondary. These guys come back for this game, but maybe it's time to kind of, and we'll get to Josh Allen in a sec, but the injured defensive guys came back because they needed this game. They don't need this. Maybe we don't see them.
Yeah, I mean, Sean McDermott's track record in the past has, in these sort of type of situations, and it's not, none are exactly the same, has leaned towards giving guys some time. Some guys would sit out the whole game, but some guys would play and play part of a game, something like that. That's probably the most likely scenario to me. I don't think he wants guys to not do anything for 2 full weeks almost leading into the next game. So I think he likes to keep guys in routine and game planning and being in that mind frame to get ready for a game. And then they play just a little. You run the risk, if you do that, of somebody getting hurt. Even if you play them a series, somebody, gets tripped up and gets their leg rolled up, whatever it is. That's kind of the risk you have to run. Same time, though, you're going to get some of these guys who've been contributors that are bench players, that are backups. They're going to get a whole bunch of time, which is going to be crucial in case someone does get banged up. And these guys are battle tested, right? Who out there? I mean, the only guy basically we haven't seen is Micah Hyde yet, right?
I'm waiting for him.
Right. So, I mean, to me, I lean more towards rest, but what I think will happen is McDermott will probably play guys a little bit, but there could be something with McDermott saying, you know what, maybe I don't follow the trends I followed in the past because that hasn't worked for us. And maybe all the big names sit. We'll see. I don't know. It'll be interesting.
I think you bring up routine, and McDermott's been big on this, even to the blue and white scrimmage game. He wants guys to know what it's like to be in the locker room getting ready for game day and going through what you're supposed to do on a game day. So I see Josh Allen starting against the Patriots, maybe just for a series. Our buddy Stevie Johnson during the postgame show mentioned getting another rushing touchdown to pass Thurman Thomas to maybe keep him. I don't know if that's quite worth it, having Josh Allen do one of those plunges into the middle of the line just to break the record
Well, that's also a career record, so he can finish that off next year if he needs to, right?
So,
and to keep his streak of starts going too.
Right.
I think that those things matter. And if he goes out there and plays a series, maybe even a quarter. I mean, this game, they really only got one offensive series in the first quarter.
Right.
So, I mean, maybe that would be it. To me, to my mind, maybe you get your guys suited up unless they're really banged up and that you're going to lean on the side of caution and have them in street clothes. Most of your guys, you have them still do warm-ups, you game plan, and then you start to filter them out because you only have 53 guys on the roster. So
Right.
You can't just take every starter and dump them. Some of those guys are going to play at least some of the game.
Yep, I agree with you. I think we'll see what we've seen in the past is the starters out there a little bit, and maybe some guy, maybe like Amari Cooper doesn't dress for this game. He's a veteran wide receiver, landed on his tailbone. Not that that was the end-all, be-all, but why have him out there?
Right.
Khalil Shakir, don't see the need. Maybe some of the linemen.
James Cook, unless he's got a chance to break. I don't know if they get him to break Thurman's record. This team wants to win a Super Bowl, right? Those things matter, but not in the grand scheme of things. Would you rather have James Cook fresh and got some fresh legs and he's one touchdown shy of Thurman Thomas's record and win a Super Bowl, or have him try to go for the record and get banged up, right? And
not worth it.
Gimping into the postseason. It's not worth it to me.
Yep, time to sit him and then focus on the playoffs. And speaking of that, we'll be doing that with our buddy Stevie Johnson live at Big Ditch in downtown Buffalo. Beer and food. It's sold out already. It's sold out while the game was going on, Andy. So a lot of people interested in this. Our Buffalo End Zone podcast we're doing here, but live with me, Andy, and Stevie Johnson at Big Ditch downtown on Wednesday, January 8th, as we get you ready for the postseason coming up. And by then, we'll actually really know who the Bills' first opponent will be.
Yeah, going on the road with this show for the first time, where we take the whole production, also broadcasting it live on Spectrum News across New York State. So it'll be on TV too. So if you're one of the fans who got those limited tickets, you'll see yourself on TV too. We'll be live on the podcast. We'll have Stevie Johnson, a chance to meet him, talk football with us, those free drinks and those things for those fans. Again, tickets are sold out. It was free, but tickets were limited, so they're all gone. So don't show up that night trying to get in because you won't be able to. Now you're going to have to sit and watch it either on TV or on YouTube or Facebook or listen to it, whatever that is. So we'll talk some football with Stevie. You get the chance to meet him. We'll also have some special guests. I know Sal Capaccio from WGR and the Bills beat reporter and sideline reporter on their broadcast. He's agreed to come join us, and he's a buddy of mine, and he's going to come hang out. Former contributor to our Buffalo End Zone shows as well. So I think Elena Getzenberg from ESPN is going to be there. Some other folks. So it's going to be a really good time. We're really excited about it to see this product, both on TV and our podcast, really grow. And it's gone through the roof this season. We can't be more ecstatic about it.
I can't wait to do this, Andy. In my 25-year broadcast career, I've never done anything like that at all. I've reported from the field. I've never been in front of a group of people doing what I do who are just staring at you. I'm looking forward to it. It's so much fun.
It's better than me just staring at you with a perplexed look like I usually do when we're in the studio together. Like, did he really just say that?
Because as we all know, I rarely get to leave the studio. So this is exciting. And
hey, we're trotting you out more and more lately. We bring out the big guns for a big season.
Some of the good, some of the bad in this season. Yeah, Andy, I said after this game, there's something that seems a little bit more special about this season, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. I know Bills Mafia probably superstitiously doesn't want me to do that either.
Yeah, long way to go. Tough road ahead, but, I mean, there's no reason this team can't do it.
All right, Andy and I will be with the Bills in the week. Next podcast is going to come out on Thursday with the holiday on Wednesday. Get you ready for that final game of the season with probably a bunch of backups playing, but with a look ahead to what's coming up during the playoffs. All right, as always, everyone, thanks for joining us. For Andy Young, I'm Kevin Carroll. We'll see you later on in the week.